Hey everyone, welcome back to another lesson. So in this one, we're going to work a little bit with the pretty table package that we just imported in the previous lesson. So again, you get a good idea exactly how to use these things, and this again takes us back to the object-oriented programming and using it, essentially kind of reading through the documentation and everything to understand exactly what you're doing here. All right, so again, I just want to kind of put this to practice so you get a good idea of how to use this. So I'm just going to comment out the previous code, so again it's not going to interfere with our work here. So we just imported the pretty table. So one of the things I want to do is I want to change this up a little bit, because I want to specifically import the function, the class basically that we want to use. So I'm just going to say from pretty table. So again, this is our package, right? I'm going to say import, and we're going to say pretty table with the Pascal case. I see the capital P, so that way is going to allow us to import the actual class, which is really important. That's what we want, right? So from the pretty table package, we're importing the pretty table class, right? So just like that, we imported this, so we're ready to use it now. Again, keep in mind you want to look at the documentation here of the pretty table, and there are a few things I want to show you. So one of them is field names. So the idea with this is that it's going to allow us to create a nice looking chart, like a nice looking a thing like this, where everything is just looking much cleaner and better. So that's again the idea behind this whole package. All right, so we're going to be using that, and again, make sure you look at the documentation a little bit. It says, for example, adding sections to a table. So we can add the city name, area, population, all that stuff. So that would be like a section to a table, and then you can actually add columns. So if you scroll down, I believe, let me just search it up, instead of just trying to. There you go. So there you go. So if I add the columns, there you go. Let's see. We'll add columns. I think that's the one. So anyways, so again, there you go, columns. So we can actually add columns just like that, and this is going to allow us to add nice columns. Right? So just like that, we're going to be using this to actually to import like some documents and some stuff in our code. So let's go back here. The first thing I want to do is, the first thing we actually just did is importing the class, right? So now we want to actually create an object from this class that we just created. So I'm just going to say table, and we're going to define this. I'm going to say pretty table, and there you go. So that's the class. So just like that, we created an object named the table from the pretty table class. So now we can actually start using this. All right, so I'm going to say, for example, table, and we're going to say field, okay, and we're going to say names, and we're going to give it some names. All right, so I'm just going to say first name, for example. We're going to create a sheet where we actually have some first names and last names. So I'm just going to say last name. All right, so just like that, we have our field names. Essentially, the idea with the field name is that what it's going to be is that it's going to be like the name of this. So this is the field name, and this would be the column. All right, so that's the idea behind it. All right, so anyways, so that's that, first name, last name, and then I'm going to, for example, say add another object. I'm going to say table, and we're going to say field name, and we're going to say column, add column. There you go. There you go. So there you go. That's add column, and I'm going to say, for example, first name. That would be the column here, and I'm going to add a list. I'm going to say, for example, Sean, and we're going to say maybe Jake. All right, there you go. Let's just make sure we add it inside the string, so like that way it knows that it's a string. Perfect. So just like that, we added a column under this. So we can actually add another one. So I'm just going to say last name. So again, same thing. I'm just going to say, for example, last name. It's going to be, for example, Newland, and we can maybe have another one. We say Porter. So just like that, we actually added, a table. And again, just using this whole package, we were able to create something very simple. So I'm just going to say print table. So we actually print this thing. All right. So if I run this, what is going to happen is that take a look. We are getting our we're getting our table. So actually, I think we can get rid of this. Let's just run this. There you go. So just like that, we're getting our table. So I see, just like that, we can actually create really simple looking tables without having to create all these ASCII arts individually, and that just makes it a lot easier, right? And again, you can actually look into this. You can do a lot of interesting things here. For example, you can actually change the alignment. That's another thing that I remember. Okay, again, like this is, I recommend again, like looking into this for yourself. Again, every package has its own documentation. So if you want to change the alignment, for example, you can actually change the alignment. There it's got left, right, and center. So by default, I believe it is centered, but you can actually change it. So for example, if I want to save table, and I'm going to say align, and I'm going to change it, or actually it makes it equal to left, for example. So I want all these things to be on left. So just like that, there you go. So just like that, we're going to have everything on the left side. See guys, so it's pretty much it. You know, as you see, we can do a lot of interesting things with a Python package. And again, they allow you to do really incredible things without having to write an entire code. Take a look at this class that we just imported here. If I can go to declarations and see, it is a huge code. Take a look. It is, well, let me see how many lines is this. It is, wow, that is huge, actually. That's like 2,534 lines of code here, all right? But we just imported it in our project and started using it without having to write a single line of code. That's just the power of Python packages, you know, and all that stuff. And you know, all the stuff that you bring with a Python package, right? For example, you know, the methods that, you know, are basically functions that are associated with a particular object. So, you know, all these things that you bring in are just going to be done for you when you use packages. And so that's something we're going to be using heavily moving forward. All right, guys. So let me know if you have any questions. One of the things I recommend, again, it's a pretty useful thing. Take a look at the documentation here again, and like, you know, see what you can find for yourself if you want to make something interesting, very interesting, like, you know, a table, for example. You can actually ask for someone's name and put it in a, you know, table or something like that, and keep that record, you know, like add more names to it, all that stuff. You can do all sorts of things. So let me know if you have any questions, guys. If not, I'll see you in the next lesson.